So the Bucs are really banged up for their Week 5 matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks. Let's talk about it. Shout out to Sleeper, by the way. More on them a little bit later on in this video. So, folks, we're going to take this slow. This was the initial Wednesday injury report for the Bucs Week 5 matchup versus the Seattle Seahawks. This was per the Buccaneers. Greg Allman of Fox Sports posted it up on Twitter. We do also have Thursday's notes from Allman. They won't release that injury report till a little bit later on in the day today, but we will still look at that as well. But starting off with Wednesday here, Jamel Dean, Mike Evans, Greg Gaines, Bucky Irving, Christian Izien, Baker Mayfield, Benjamin Morrison, Sterling Shepard, and Tyke Smith all did not participate in Wednesday's walk-through practice. Jamel Dean dealing with a hip, Mike Evans still dealing with a hamstring. Greg Gaines is also dealing with a pectoral injury. Bucky Irving, foot and shoulder injuries. He was actually seen in a walking boot with crutches. Now, Todd Bowles did say regarding Bucky Irving that if he is not out of that walking boot by tomorrow, Friday, that it's very likely he's not going to be playing. So we're going to have to pay attention to that as well. Christian Izien is dealing with a quad injury. Baker Mayfield dealing with a knee and right biceps injury. He had that right biceps injury last week as well versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Benjamin Morrison has a hamstring. Sterling Shepard has a foot injury. Tyke Smith has an ankle injury. Okay. Levante David was limited with a knee injury. Logan Hall was limited with a groin injury. Hassan Reddick was limited with a neck injury. Tristan Wirfs was limited with his knee injury. And then finally, full go, Godwin with his ankle, Charlie Heck with his knee, and Zion McCollum with his thumb. Now, before we even dive into who could step up in certain situations and not step up in certain situations as well, I do want to say real quick, shout out to the sponsor of this channel in Sleeper. Guys, if you do use the code MrBucs, you will get a $100 deposit match up to $100. Again, that is whenever you use the code MrBucs. Guys, download the #1 sports app today and enjoy football the way it was meant to be. That is together. Now, back to what we're talking about. So that was for Wednesday, okay? We're going to have to scroll up a little bit here. There are some good updates from this practice. So Mike Evans is still not practicing. Bucky Irving is still not practicing. Jamel Dean, Benjamin Morrison, and Christian Izien are still not practicing as well. Players who are practicing: Mayfield, Wirfs, Levante David, Chris Godwin, Zion McCollum, Hassan Reddick, Tyke Smith, Logan Hall, Greg Gaines, Charlie Heck, and Sterling Shepard. So whenever we go back to that list of the guys who did not participate in Wednesday's practice, the only guys who are not participating in Thursday's practice, Jamel Dean is still not participating. Izien is still not participating. Benjamin Morrison is still not participating. Then Bucky Irving and Mike Evans are the only other two. So that's good. I mean, like, it's better than nothing. Gaines is practicing. Mayfield's practicing. Shep is practicing. Tyke Smith is practicing. You're getting more guys back, okay? That is a good thing, all things considered. Now, let's dive a little bit deeper into the current guys who are not practicing regarding these 5 guys: Evans, Bucky, Dean, Morrison, and Izien, okay? Firstly, Almond points out here, no Dean and no Morrison means likely a new Bucs starter at the outside cornerback. Could be Jacob Parrish with a new nickel or an outside starter and keep the rest the same. We'll see with that. Just taking a look at the Bucs depth chart here. Firstly, in the case of the corners, let's just start off there. If Dean and Benjamin Morrison cannot go, you do have a couple of options. Like Zion McCollum is there. He would certainly be an option. Or he obviously is going to be starting at one of those outside cornerback spots, I should say. Josh Hayes is another option as well. Former late round draft pick of the Bucs a couple of years ago. He is actually started games at outside cornerback for the Bucs last year. Didn't necessarily do great, all things considered, but he is a body at this point who has started some games. Jacob Parrish could slide over to outside cornerback. We saw him do that in preseason and training camp and whatnot. If that does happen, you do have a couple of options. At nickelback, you do have Kindle Vidor, who could step up. He's currently the backup nickel cornerback for the Bucs. You could move Tyke Smith or Antoine Winfield Jr. However, you don't necessarily have a lot of depth at safety right now because Izien is not practicing for the second day in a row, as we see on here. So I don't necessarily know if they would want to mess with Parrish at nickel cornerback or at nickel back, because you don't have a ton of guys who can step up at safety. Like, I guess you could move Smith down and then put Kayvon Merriweather at safety, but then you're kind of exposing yourself a little bit at safety at that point by downgrading. So I don't know. In terms of other options, like on the practice squad and whatnot, it would not surprise me at all if Bryce Hall is elevated to the active roster for this upcoming game. He has a lot of experience at starting outside cornerback. He did a lot for the Jets. Started one game for the Bucs last year before he had his pretty gnarly injury. So he is certainly an option. He has started 26 games in his NFL career. Would not surprise me at all if he was elevated for game day. You did also bring in another cornerback just yesterday or a couple days ago in Demarion Williams. He's another guy that, has played in 15 games at the NFL level. You could also elevate him if needed. But right now, my guess is it's either going to be Zion McCollum moving from the inside to the outside, and then having Tyke Smith slide down into that slot role, or nickel role. Maybe you have Kindle Vador do the same. Maybe you have Kindle Vador step up in that role, and then have Kayvon Merriweather at safety. Or they elevate Bryce Hall from the practice squad to the active roster, and he's one of your outside cornerbacks. Those are the situations, those scenarios that are in my mind. With Bucky Irving, thankfully, that one's a little bit more straightforward. You have Rachaad White, you have Sean Tucker. A lot of people want Sean Tucker to get more playing time. Well, if Bucky Irving cannot go, you're going to be seeing more of Sean Tucker. Simple as that. And also Rachaad White would still be doing his Rachaad White things. And then Josh Williams would probably be active for this upcoming game as well. He's still on the roster. They like him a lot. Former undrafted guy out of LSU, so he would be an option also. And then with Mike Evans, that's still a thing where, look, Godwin's there, Ibuka's there, Shep came back and practiced, so that is a good thing to see also. So those would be the scenarios. Now, an interesting thing to note here, Ahman in the media didn't see Bucky at all during the window open to the media. So that's another interesting thing to make a note of there. But then with the Seattle Seahawks, we only have Wednesdays right now, but Josh Jones didn't practice. DeMarcus Lawrence, one of their starting defensive ends, didn't go. Julian Love didn't go, one of their starting safeties. This is a really interesting one. Devon Witherspoon didn't go with a knee on Wednesday. So you're possibly looking at a starting defensive end, starting safety, and a starting cornerback. Three very good players in the Seattle Seahawks defense that could be possibly out as well, which that's going to be interesting to make a note of for the Bucs. Interesting to pay attention to that as well. But that's it, guys. Let me know your thoughts and opinions about this injury report. I know it's a long one. I know there's a lot of names. If I had to guess, the only 5 that I feel like are in serious jeopardy of missing the game are these 5 right here: Evans, Irving, Dean, Morrison, and Isian. I think everybody else is pretty much in play to be in the game this upcoming week against the Seahawks. If anything changes, we may have to make another video to talk about that. But let me know your guys' thoughts and opinions about this. I'd love to hear it down in the comments section below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, guys, I'll see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.